Cindy. I am CNY Woman, and you found CNY Woman Enjoys Yarn Therapy. I am using a big hook today. I'm using a Q prim hook. Comes in this package. I bought mine from Amazon for about $14 or so. You can probably find them cheaper someplace else, but I like these ergonomic hooks. I lost my 15 millimeter hook, so they had the 16 millimeter for a better price than the 15. So I thought a millimeter is not going to make a difference. I'll just buy this. So that's what I did. And I have two different yarns today, although I have two skeins of one of the yarns. I have Big Twist Value Pound Plus, which is a 4-weight. And what color is it? It's magenta. And then I have two skeins right there of Lion Brand Mandala in the color Cupid. So that's what I'm working with today. I'm working with two skeins of Mandala, one skein of Value Pound Plus. I have this lovely book, Easy Q Hook Afghans that are crochet. This is the pattern I'm doing called Zippy. I won't show you the pattern because obviously it's a paid for pattern, but it's a chevron or a ripple. So that's what I'm working on. I'm going to stick that over here. It's your typical chevron. I'm doing single crochet, obviously. Hi, Kristen. Welcome in. I'm doing single crochet. So that is the story with that. So I'm using one skein of magenta in Value Pound Plus, and I'm using two skeins of, or two strands of Cupid in Lion Brand Mandala, which is a 3-weight, which equals a 4-weight when you put them together. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6. Like I said, this is a paid for pattern, so I can't give you, anything really. I don't know the multiples because I'm not good with multiples, but you can probably figure it out if you watch me. So I'm doing 3 in the top. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm doing 6 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. 5, 6, and then I'm skipping 2 at the bottom. So it's very similar to the Yarn Inspirations pattern I always use. If you wanted to do a blanket this way with a larger hook, you could use that pattern easily and get the same effect. This does have more chains to start with. I can't tell you how many chains to start with because, like I said, this is a paid for pattern. I was able to get this Leisure Arts Easy Q Hook Afghans on I think I got it from Walmart. But you can find this in like thrift books, that sort of thing, if you're interested. It does have other blankets in it. This is the one I'm doing called Zippy, but it does have like a waffle stitch blanket. It has bobbles. It has another blanket as well. And then it has like a spike stitch blanket. So, very simple. They're all like, the waffle stitch is the one that has like post stitches. So you should be able to figure that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hi, Angie. Welcome in. So we're doing that. And as you can see, this is very, very pink. So I'm making this for Project Linus because they said they needed some larger size blankets for older kids. So I decided to work on this today. I woke up and was like, hey, I got to work on this. So I pulled out some colors and put them together, and there you go. It should go relatively quickly because of the large hook size. I say relatively quickly because it's awkward when you have a larger crochet hook. And I usually do have to stop and count. Like I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then skip 2 at the bottom. And you got to make sure all three strands are in there as well. Although if you drop one accidentally, it's not a huge deal. I just crochet over it and pick it up on the next one. You know, like that happened on like the first or second row, and I was like, it's fine, it's in the next stitch, it's not a big deal. Of course. So I did not do a lot yesterday. We talked about what I did, which was not a lot. Ordered some food late in the day and had that during the game. There was a Yankees training game yesterday that they won. And then it's going to suck for the week because the guys are off to the baseball classic, the World Baseball Classic. So, like Aaron Judge won't be there. Jazz Chisholm won't be there. There's a whole bunch of players that aren't going to be there. I think Austin Wells is going as well. There's 11 players total that are going from the Yankees to play for different countries' teams. Some of them are going to the Dominican Republic. I think Jazz is going to Great Britain. Judge is obviously playing for the United States. You know, so it is what it is. And I'm going to skip my 2 at the bottom. Normally this pattern calls for 2 worsted weight yarns together. I'm doing a worsted weight and then 2 3 weights together, which equals a 4. So I'm using 3 strands of yarn. It's a good thing if you have yarn that you want to use up. You got a couple of those Value Pound Plus. You got some Caron 1 pounds that you want to use up. Maybe you've got some granny square yarn that you've got like 6 skeins of and you want to use it up and you don't want to make freaking granny squares. I would do a blanket like this and it would stripe up. It would be really nice. The mandala has long striping sequences, obviously. Mandala looks like this, has longer stripes. That color is called Cupid. And then I'm using Value Pound Plus Magenta right there. So 2. So a memory that makes you laugh. A memory that makes me laugh is me trying to roller skate in Fisher Price roller skates that snapped on your shoes or velcroed to your shoes, buckled to your shoes, whatever, as a little kid, and me getting caught on the ramp that went from our garage to the dirt driveway that we had, gravel driveway that we had, and it was not pretty. I fell on my ass. I probably looked really bizarre. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I can laugh at it now. And Logan says, "Hi, amazing." So I'm going to get rid of that. Welcome in, Logan. And welcome in, Angie, if I didn't say welcome in. And welcome in, Kristen, because they're the only ones who have spoken up. So if anybody wants to chat, feel free to do that. And if you want to give me a thumbs up, please feel free to do that as well. If you want to learn how to, I'm going to pull out some yarn here, so bear with me a second. Okay, there we go. Now we're in better shape. Where am I? Where am I? Got to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm on my peak, and I've done 1. Kristen said, Dad was the main weekday cook growing up. He experimented once and called it Daddy's Surprise. It didn't go over well. From then, anytime he would call something Daddy's Surprise, we'd rebel. I got that. I have a friend who's very similar in that regard. She won't do anything with gravy or anything except quiche that she's made that has eggs in it. Because apparently when they got to leftovers, they would go throw some eggs in a frying pan or baking dish, throw the leftovers in with them, and make some weird quiche, and throw gravy on it for good measure, or ketchup or whatever. And she was like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this as a grown-up. She got to the point where she has a food touching thing. She will not let her food touch each other because of that, because she got so grossed out by it, which I can't blame her at all. So okay, almost made it, not quite. Kristen says, I have a friend who won't eat chicken to this day because he was dirt poor growing up and would frequently eat slightly off chicken. Ew, yuck. Just the thought of that freaks me out. Kristen says, me too. Yeah. I mean, we used a lot of ground chuck when I was a kid, which is hamburger meat, basically. My mom cooked a lot of stuff with ground chuck, and it was always 4 frozen hamburger patties in the electric skillet with water. Why we couldn't use fresh hamburger like other people, I don't know. You know, she could have made meals ahead, you know, and we could have warmed them up or whatever, but we didn't. 4 frozen hamburger patties to the point where the electric skillet had slightly used, I don't know, impressions of 4 frozen hamburger patties in the bottom of it. Because of that, we used it so often. At least 2 or 3 times a week we had ground chuck. Because you could make Spanish rice out of it. You could make chili out of it. You could make, you know, something. So I had a lot of ground chuck growing up. Because that was what we could afford. My mom went back to school when I was in junior high to get a library degree. She had a master's in teaching, and she decided to leave teaching and go get a master's in library science so she could be a public librarian. And it was like, okay, I'm cooking now. So I would do experimental stuff. I do not recommend bok choy from a can. We thought that was the height of Chinese food. No, it's not. When I was in high school, I remember being upstairs in the second floor of the school, and I was in class and was like, I gotta go. I gotta go to the bathroom now. I don't feel well. Or I was on my way to the nurse, maybe, and didn't make it, and was ill in the hall. And they were open classrooms with partial walls because we were still coming off the 70s. So I was physically ill in the hall, and it was not pretty. I was like, I gotta go home. So they actually called my mom and had her pick me up. Or I spent the afternoon in the nurse's office and rode the bus home or something because I don't think she could come get me. Something along those lines. You know, where you're like, yeah, the parent can't come get me. She's working and she's the only one in the building and she would have to close the building. So, yeah. Kristen said my sister-in-law did something similar. She was an accountant first, but she's being a librarian now. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to go into that this early in the morning. You probably didn't want to hear that. But do not recommend bok choy in a can. No, no, no. Do not do that. It's all good, says Kristen. And Adriana says hi. And Wolf says, I would love to be a librarian. Yeah, my mom liked it. She liked it better than teaching. So that was that. And Adriana says, I'm new to the channel. Okay, good. Welcome in. I have tutorials on learn to knit and learn to crochet. I have some on yarn hauls, works in progress sessions where I work on a work in progress and keep you company while you work. It's ya girl, Steph, says hi. Hi, Steph. Welcome in. Let me pull this away. There we go. Let me pull out some more yarn. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I can count, it'd be even better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I go back to work tomorrow. Yay, it's Monday tomorrow. But I've got a long time to crochet today. I'll be doing a live later, about 11, where I'm going to be knitting. It'll just be stockinette, so nothing too exciting. But you can definitely check that out about 11 o'clock. When I get done with this, I'll throw my phone back on the charger and probably watch some church. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because my church does services on YouTube that I watch. So, good morning, Bridget. Welcome in. Bridget says, hi there. Good morning. And Wolf says, hi. I forgot to say hello. Hello. So now I'm at the top. I'm going to do 3 single crochets into this top stitch. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So we're just working on a multiple strand. Bridget said, watching you crochet actually brought me back to knitting and crochet. Just finished a little red hat crocheted. Very cool. Very cool. This is a pattern from a book called Leisure Arts Easy Q Hook Afghans. And let me find the correct page so I can show you what this looks like. Actually, I can show you the back. It's this one. That's a chevron. I'm not doing tassels on it. No tassels, sorry. I don't think children would enjoy tassels. It's not really their thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, didn't quite get all my strands there. So I gotta go back and do that stitch over again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yikes. I'm not doing well this morning. Bridget said, that's pretty. I like your color choice. Yep, it is. Hang on one second. Let me get the 6th stitch done. It is Cupid. And that is Mandala from Lion Brand. Cupid. It's got all kinds of pinks in it. And then back here in the background is Big Twist Value Pound Plus in magenta. So I think you can get those now at Michael's for the Value Pound Pluses. They run, I believe, $11.99. But right now they're having a 20% off coupon. So you could get them for a little money off. This I had in my stash from when Joann's closed, I think. And Wolf says, congrats on getting back into making things. Back into it and making things, Bridget. And Bridget says, Wolf, thanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then I'm skipping 2 at the bottom. I'm not doing decreases or anything. I'm just skipping 2 at the bottom. Really easy pattern. I could have done the stitch that my mom always did, which was an extended crochet. It's a little taller stitch than a single crochet. She always did her ripple blankets with extended crochet, extended single crochet. It's pretty easy to do. Extended single crochet is kind of like single crochet. You do this, and instead of yarning over and finishing the stitch, you yarn over and go through the first loop, and then you go back and you go and do the last part of the stitch. So you get a taller stitch. It's not quite a half double crochet, but kind of similar. So that's extended single crochet. I'm just doing single crochet, but I could do extended single crochet. Let's see what's going on. So I did 3 single crochets in the top loop. Then I'm doing 6 single crochets along the stitches going down. Sure. Bridget says, one more time, please, on that extended single crochet. Sure. So you're going to go into the stitch. And then you're going to yarn over, pull that loop up. So you have 2 loops on the hook, just like a single crochet. Then you're going to go over, yarn over again, go through the first loop only, and then you're going to yarn over again and pull both loops over. And I will do that one more time so you can see that. So see how it's taller? I'm going to go into the stitch. Sorry. yarn over, pull up one loop, so I have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over again, pull through 1 loop only, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops on the hook. And that, you can see, is definitely taller than single crochet. It's got like 2 in the beginning. So that's how you do extended single crochet. And Wolf says, I just got some gorgeous yarn last week at a bargain price. Now, got to decide if I want to knit or crochet my mom a spring cardigan. Oh. Well, it depends on the yardage, obviously. If you got enough of it, you could do crochet. It'd be quicker. You'd use more yarn, though. And it depends on the kind of fabric that you want to. I always knit when I'm trying to extend the yarn if I don't have a lot of yardage, because I can make the yarn go further with knitting than I can with crochet. Usually that's how that works. And Bridget says, oh, sweet, thank you. Sure, no problem. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Something is awry here. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Something is awry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So what is awry is something is off. I think I see what's off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what's off. Right here. I didn't go far enough. I was off a stitch. Luckily, you can pull out crochet. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to do the 3 in the top here in the correct stitch. Wolf says, I'm really bad at working out how much yarn I need. I have bags of spare in my attic from grossly overestimating for making throws. Yeah, this throw with the big hook is not bad. I'm probably going to use, I've got 4 of these mandala cakes that are like 500, let's see how many yards they are. They're 590 yards, and I'm using 2 of those together, so that's 1,180 yards altogether that I'm going to end up using, like put together, because it's like 2 sets of 2. And then this is 1,093 yards. And I don't think I ever used the entire thing because it got too big. Like it got too long. So I don't think I even use all of it. So I'm using about 1,100 yards. Or 1,100 yards or so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Bridget said, and Wolf says, but I can make another one at least. And Bridget can relate to that. She says, LOL, relate. 1, sorry, messed that stitch up. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. And Bluey Fan says hi. Hi. Hi, Bluey Fan. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm doing 3 single crochets, and Bridget's waving. So I do 3 single crochets in the top. I'm not doing anything complicated with this. And Bluey Fan says, I knit and crochet. Very cool, so do I. My name is Mindy. I live in Syracuse, New York, right in the middle of New York State. That's why I have CNY in my name for Central New York. And Wolf is given the peace sign. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to skip 2 at the bottom. There we go. You're going to subscribe? Great. Thank you, thank you. Then you'll get notifications when I post and when I go live, which I usually go unannounced when I go live, because my phone messes up if I try and schedule it ahead of time. Typically I go live around 5 o'clock on the weekdays, and usually on the weekends I do it in the morning around 11 o'clock or so. And Bluey Fan says, yay! Bluey Fan says, oh, okay, and nice. And Wolf says, I knit and crochet too, and I've just taught myself to do Tunisian crochet, but definitely not good at it yet. LOL. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you get to the end, and there's 2 stitches here. I don't know why this happens in ripples sometimes, but it does. So they want you to, in the pattern, they want you to skip the second to last stitch and go into the last stitch. I don't do that. I do a decrease because I think it gives a more solid edge. So you go into the first stitch. I'll show you here. So I got 2 stitches left. I'm going into the first stitch, yarning over and pulling up a loop. So I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to go into the last stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. And then I'm going to yarn over again and pull all 3 loops over. That is a single crochet decrease. Very, very easy. And that's how I end this pattern. I do not know how to Tunisian crochet. I only crochet. Bridget said, I have a Tunisian crochet hook, but I haven't tried it yet. Oh, I have Tunisian crochet hooks and I haven't tried them yet either. I think I can do the simple stitch. I think that's what it's called. Um, it's your basic stitch that kind of curls. The whole work curls. Okay. And Wolf says it's somewhere in between knitting and crochet, but yeah, the curl is killing me. I have so much blocking to do. Yeah. Bridget says you crochet on and then kind of knit off, right? And thank you for the hearts and the thummies. I appreciate those. Sorry, I gotta skip 2 at the bottom here. And Bridget, to answer your question, the way I've done it in the past with the simple stitch is you put on the stitches like along the crochet hook, and then as you go, you basically yarn over and then go off with like 2 loops at a time. I think you start with 1 loop for the very beginning when you do simple stitch, and then you go off 2 loops at a time, if I remember correctly. It's been like years since I tried it. Okay, for simple stitch, then you pick up a row of loops, then yarn over and pull through 2 with each. Okay, so that's a better explanation. From Wolf. Okay, we got something awry again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We didn't skip 2 stitches, we only skipped 1. That was why I had my issues. So you can see we're coming along. We're starting to get that chevron or ripple shape. And this I just started this morning, and it's already several inches tall because I am using a 16 millimeter or a Q hook with this yarn. I'm using 2 strands of mandala, which is a 3 weight or a DK weight, and 1 skein of Aran or worsted weight, depending on where you're from. Thank you for the hearts. I see those. If you want to give me a thumbs up, you can do that by just touching your phone twice. Go tap, tap. And Wolf says, I got to go get some lunch and then work. So I wish you much love and may your yarn never run out before the end of the row. Thank you very much, Wolf. Appreciate that. Have a good lunch. And Bridget says love. Sends a heart. Let's see how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Something is awry, so I have to go back and kind of smooth over the yarn. There we go. Hi, Bluey fan. Bridget wants to know, Mindy, are you using 3 strands from 3 different cakes? I'm using 2 cakes of mandala in the color Cupid, and then I'm using 1 strand from a 4-weight, which is Value Pound Plus from Big Twist, and magenta. So yeah, I am using 3 strands at once. You could get away with 2 strands of worsted to make this. When you put 2 strands of 3-weight together, you get the equivalent of a 4-weight yarn. So that's what I'm doing. So it works out really nicely. I'm using up yarn that is in the stash that I wanted to use up. And it's a really easy single crochet chevron pattern or ripple pattern, depending on how you view it. So all I have to do is count to 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I skip 2 at the bottom. Now, of course, going into these is kind of awkward sometimes because you got to figure out, you got to get all your strands in the right spot and not carry up something from the bottom or lose something from the top. But it's doable. And this pile of yarn I usually pull out yarn, so I'm not putting extra stress on the yarn when I'm using it. By pulling it out of a cake of yarn or out of a skein of yarn and putting extra stress on it as I'm working with it. And Bridget says, I like what you're doing more than using a worsted. Also makes a dent in the stash. Yeah, because I'll wind up using 4 skeins of mandala by the time I'm done, and 1 skein of the Value Pound Plus. I probably won't use all of it, but enough so that I can just throw out my scraps and call it done. I crochet until it's tall enough to be a teenager size blanket, which I think is either 40 by 50 or 50 by 60. I think it's 50 by 60, but we kind of just use this pattern as a guide, and if it comes out somewhere in between, it's okay, because kids come in all shapes and sizes, so this is kind of perfect. I'm sure some kid will love this. And you notice I don't say girl or boy, because my feeling is you can be a guy and like pink too, or you can be non-binary and like pink too. It all depends on what you like. So nobody's tied to, you know, you may have people who view gender traditionally. I have a friend that has a non-binary adult child, and I don't claim to understand it all, but I know it is what it is. So we're all inclusive around here, no matter what you are, what gender you express, don't express, whatever. Let's see. Oh, let's see. My adopted sister's son's favorite color is rainbow. Yeah. I have some rainbow mandala that I'm going to use. I think it's called Rainbow Falls. That'll be one of my next blankets, because once I get this done, we'll go use that with probably some off-white. Bridget says, identify by what your heart and soul identify as. Exactly. Exactly. And Kristen says, I agree, Bridget. Yeah, we're living in weird times, people. Some people would say that's because we recognize non-binary and other choices. Some people would say it's because we don't recognize them. It depends on what state you're in right now. Kansas is doing bizarre things with people's driver's licenses and restrooms. I suppose you've heard of that already on YouTube and other social media. They're doing all kinds of weird things, and it's not going to make things pleasant for trans people. I've told this story before, and Kristen says, yep, infuriating. Yep, I've told this story before, and pardon me if you're hearing it for a second time. My mom waited on people at a jewelry counter at Service Merchandise back in the 80s when she was going to school. And a very tall person in a beautiful, striking green dress and heels came in and tried to get someone to wait on them. And no one would wait on them except my mother. And I was waiting in the parking lot, not knowing what all was going on. And I saw, to what my eyes said, was that's a guy in women's clothing. To my brain at the time, because, that was a rare thing to see in the 80s, somebody publicly expressing in a suburban setting their choice to be a trans woman with makeup and heels and a beautiful dress and, coiffed hair and the whole bit. And when Mom came out, I said, "Did you see that person?" And she said, "Yes. As a matter of fact, that person came up to the jewelry counter and no one would wait on them except for me." I don't know whether they were afraid or just prejudice or what the deal was. And my mom said, "I looked at that person and thought, their money is just as green as somebody else's. I'm going to wait on them." And it was a good thing she did, because they bought several $100s worth of jewelry from her. And she got some credit for, selling that jewelry. And I think they were paid an hourly rate. They weren't working on commission or anything like that, but they noticed if you sold a certain amount of jewelry and you got recognition for doing that. And I thought that was a good attitude to have. It was an ordinary thing. Their money is just as green as anybody else's. They're a human being. You treat them like that. So I thought that was a good lesson. And Bridget says, "Yes, run from Kansas. I prefer Oz, and good for your Mindy." Exactly. Exactly. Go, Mom. Yep. Yep. So and almost worked. Hang on. We're almost to the end of the row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we got our 2 stitches again. So we're going to do a decrease again. So I'm going to yarn over, pull up 1 loop, go into the next stitch, yarn over with 3 strands, pull up 1 loop. So I have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over again, and pull the 3 loops over. Bing, bang, boom. We are done with that row. And we're done with our hour. So I'm going to let you go because church is starting for me. And I'm going to watch church on YouTube. Have a lovely time. I'll see you back at about 11 or so with knitting.